Hi, welcome to today's video on training on how to successfully recruit volunteers. As you can imagine, 2009 is going to be a great year for us at Destiny Life, and a lot of you involved in different departments of ministry have been asking us, how can we get more workers involved? And sometimes some of you have come to us and said, could you announce that we need workers here? Could we put something in the bulletin? And obviously that would seem like that's a great idea. But let me share with you some things I think will be helpful. Over the last 30 years, I've learned some things that help us in recruiting. In fact, I used these as a Christian Ed director 30 years ago in recruiting Sunday school teachers. And so I want to share some of the truth with you. I never recruited anyone on the spot for that right then. We always tried to plan 3 months, 4 months, 6 months down the road. Now, obviously, sometimes you can't plan for everything and there's emergencies, but I want to talk to you about thinking down the road. And once you get your ministries up and running in those areas, you'll be more successful. So today I want to give you 3 or 4 insights. First thing I want you to do is start making a list of potential people that could be involved. One of the things you can do is contact our office. We're starting to use a new software called Fellowship One, and we'll be doing a better job in being able to gather names of people's interests. We already have some who have indicated interest they'd like to be involved. You can make your own list by looking out through the congregation, constantly be on alert for recruits, making lists, looking for people. It depends upon what area you're recruiting for. If you're recruiting for children, of course, obviously, we have background checks, and that will be available on our website as well through Fellowship One. All volunteers will simply go in and fill out a form, and that will allow us permission to do background checks, which we already do for all children's ministry. But if you're working with ushers, of course you have more leeway with newer people and that type of thing. At the same time, there may be certain areas of ministry where people need certain skills, or they at least lean in that area. If you're talking about technology, recruiting for video, or the computer, there's different things that people will lean towards their interest. But by and large, it's all basically the same. You want to get a list, number one. Number two, you want to create a vision, your story on the vision. Number three, you want to approach them, giving them time to consider. Number four, talk to them about them being the key and how you have orientation and training and that you're going to get back with them. Those are the keys to successful recruiting. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. If I was going to recruit ushers or greeters or someone working in that area, I wouldn't walk up to them and say, hey, how about you being an usher? We need some ushers. Would you be an usher? Number one, that's not the way. If you approach me that way, I'm going to think, wait a minute, can you not find somebody else? And you see, that's the reason we don't put it in the bulletin or make a big deal about announcing it from the pulpit, because oftentimes you end up getting the people that are the least qualified. Let me tell you a little bit of a truth about people. Successful people would never volunteer off of a sheet. They do things because others that they respect ask them to. Don't ever forget that. People respond to people. They don't respond to tasks. So if you're coming at this going, why aren't everybody invited and excited about our children's ministry? They're not thinking about tasks. They want to respond to you, and they want to respond to a vision. So if I were to walk up to someone and say, hey, how about you being involved in our ushers? That's not the way to do it. But if I said, listen, during 2009, we are in the process of enhancing our worship. And we want this to be one of the easiest places for people to come in and find a place of hookup and get into the atmosphere of worship. To do that, one of the most important aspects is our greeters and ushers. Who they see when they come in the building, who helps them to the children's ministry. That's probably the most important. And we need key people. And I've been looking over a list, and I have a list of 3 or 4 people, and you're on my list of folks that I think that fit those qualifications. I'd like to talk to you over the next 2 or 3 weeks. I'd like to get back with you and give you some time to pray about it, because we have an orientation and training. And I believe this could be an area that you'd be very successful at. I'd like to see if you're going to fit into our vision, and if you'd like to be a part of this, be praying about it. Let me get a hold of you in about 3 or 4 weeks, and let's talk about as we enhance our worship here at Destiny Life. You see, notice I didn't walk up and say to them, hey, would you like to be an usher? I've painted a picture of the vision. Do the same way. If you're serving at the coffee bar, I love coffee. In fact, while I'm sitting here talking to you, I have a cup. But if you were to walk up to me and say, Glenn, how about being a coffee maker at a church? Probably not. But if you said, we're in the process of creating the greatest hospitality of any place in town. We want people to walk in and feel right at home. And the atmosphere, the aroma, that entryway, and those who are serving coffee, they create that atmosphere. And we're looking for 2 or 3 key people that could serve and rotate in over the next 6 months. We recruit people for 6 months or 1 year. You want to talk to them about time frame, 6 months to 1 year. And I've got a group of 3 or 4 that I'm wanting to talk to. In fact, in the next week or so, I'd love to be able to call you and talk to you about our orientation, our training, and how you could be involved in this and see if this is something you might fit into. You see what I'm doing? I'm using the same technique on every area. Same way with children's ministry. If I were to walk up to you and try to recruit you for children's ministry or nursery, I don't want to do that. I want to paint a picture about families coming in who are saying to themselves, we need to get in church. We've got new families coming in right now. Their kids need love and ministry. And I'm telling you, it's the greatest opportunity to change a generation ever. And especially work in the nursery. Folks that have anointed hands and a heart will touch those children. We're looking for key people just like you. We have an orientation and training. And over the next 2 or 3 weeks, you see, I'm doing it over and over. No matter what ministry it is, I want to do a couple things. I want to get a list. I want to paint a clear picture, a vision of how they could be a part. You see, this is so important. If you were to walk up to me and say, Glenn, you want to change the world today? You want to bring world peace? I'd probably say, no, I'm too busy. But if you were to come to me and say, listen, I'm looking for key people, Glenn, and I believe that you're one of those that 6 months from now, that we could have an orientation. You could be a part of a vision that would help transform this world into world peace. I'd say, count me in. See, I have time to work that in my schedule. And so oftentimes we just come at it with such an abrupt task orientation. Do you want to be an usher? Could I have you be an usher? And we don't paint the picture. If that's the only reason, if we're doing it for the task, we've missed it ourselves. Go back and renew your vision. So here's the steps. Number 1, get a list. Call the office, start making a list. Always keep a list ongoing. Number 2, create your story. Look at what you're doing. Get the vision for why you're doing it anyway. And when you approach them, be prepared to share the vision, the story. Number 3, make sure you let them know there's going to be orientation and time for them to pray about it and think about it. And then you will be following up, and there will be training, and you're going to help them be a part of it for 6 months to a year. That way they know they're not eternally locked in. Hey, use this technique, if you will. Incorporate it in your own words, in your heart. Let God use this as we upgrade the ministries for 2009. I believe many of you are going to be very successful. Pray, 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 pray over that list of 4 or 5 before you go talk to them. And let God use you to plug people into the vision for what we're doing here at Destiny Life. Thanks for listening to this training video on how to recruit volunteers successfully.